Hey guys, Karasif here, back with a double review. This time I'll be reviewing the Henshin Belt Deluxe Ziku Driver and the Deluxe Build Ride Watch from Kamen Go. This is the main rider belt of Kamen Go and Kamen Gates, as well as the first individually released ride watch, which is this year's gimmick item. The Ziku Driver comes with the belt itself, one ride watch, and self belt parts, while the Build Ride Watch is just an individual item. So, let's get started. To start, let's take a look at the two ride watches, starting with the Go ride watch. Now, just to start off, one thing I want to mention is that you guys probably will notice that while the title says Ziku Driver and ZO, I'm going to be pronouncing it as Ziku Driver and Go, and that's because that's how it's pronounced in Japanese, and the reason why there's that weird discrepancy is because basically, Japanese does not have a Z sound, and instead where that sound should be is the sound G. So sometimes when romanizing things into English, they will spell G as Z, and so that's how it's going to be spelled, but I am going to pronounce it the way it is in Japanese. So, ride watches are these little stopwatches that contain the power of various Kamen Riders. You can see that they have two parts, the base by and then a face. First we have the default mode, where it has a couple of panels that are revealed, one showing the rider's emblem, and the other showing what year they first appeared in. For Go, his symbol is here, and it actually spells out the word Kamen in katakana, Kamen, while on the bottom we have 2018. You have the speaker on the side, activation button on top, which also has Kamen written on it. On the back we have recognition pins as well as activation switches, a QR code for gambarizing, reset switch, and the battery compartment is actually underneath the face. To get to it, we need to turn this part to the left, then unlatch it, which will reveal the rest of the sticker here. Then you have these pins, one of which will be used to open up the battery cover. The batteries are already included. We can then rotate it to the right, and it becomes Gio's face. Where now we can see his face, where the eyes actually spell out the word rider in katakana. Ra-I-da-a. So, on its own, the ride watches have some sounds, which are activated by pressing the button on the top. First is the name activation. Second is a description of the rider. And for these, I'll give you guys a translation. So for the Go ride watch, it says, the clock rider or the watch rider who transforms with ride watches is Go. And for the third sound, it summons Gio's mecha, the Time Machine. We can also activate these sounds when it's in the default mode, where we can more clearly see that it has a pink LED. Next we have the Build Ride Watch. This was actually released early, before the series started, has kind of a little preview to the toy line, which is something that has been somewhat of a trend within the Phase 2 Heisei era of Kamen Rider. So, whereas Go's ride watch is gunmetal and translucent white, or translucent white and gunmetal, the Build Ride watch is fittingly enough red and blue to match with Build's rabbit tank form. For the face, we have Build symbol on top and then 2017 on the bottom. The molding for the rest of it is the same, down to even having the same lettering on the button on top. So, we'll twist the face and get to the individual sounds. So first we have the name activation, then the rider description. best match. The Genius Rider who transforms with full balls is Build. And unlike the Geo Ride Watch, this one just has 2 sounds. Next, we move on to the Ziku driver itself, with Ziku meaning time in Japanese. So design-wise, it's got a color scheme similar to that of the Geo Ride Watch, being translucent white and gunmetal, and it's made to look like a large digital watch. You can see the face here. This part will be a digital LED display. We got some buttons on top, speaker here, slots for inserting ride watches on the sides, and you have Build's emblem here in chrome at the bottom. We've got the button here again with Build's emblem. On the back we have the battery cover, and you're going to see that word spelled out in Japanese is actually going to be a trend of the Geo toy line. So for the battery cover here, it actually says Beruto, belt, as an indication that this is a rider belt. We then have the belt straps, which have these clips which are made to look like the hinges of a watch. You also have the belt stopper, which is the same one that came with the gamer driver, as well as some simple belt straps. These are adjustable, just like any other belt straps, using the 2 clips here. Of course, they have an L and R, indicating which sides they go to, which correspond to L and R on the back in the sockets. And as usual, just push in the tabs and insert in the straps into the 2 slots. And there you have the fully built Ziku driver. So for the sake of the review, we'll be removing them. Now this button here actually acts as a release button. As you can see, it tilted slightly to the left. And what this does is that allows the entire middle section to be rotated around 360 degrees on an axis. And as you can see, this is the section that contains the batteries and all the electronics. Whereas this piece here, which is where the belt straps go onto, is separate. Next, we'll move on to the electronics of the Ziku driver. So to start, we'll switch on with the power switch down here. So as you can see, the belt's name is actually written out and scrolls across the screen using various LEDs. And that's kind of the main gimmick of the belt, is that it actually has this digital display which shows various words and numbers, similar to the style of a digital clock. So while it's on, just on its own, pressing the button and then twisting it around won't do anything. It will only make more sounds once you have a ride watch attached. So, we'll first activate the Geo Ride Watch. Then attach it to the left slot. Now we'll get into the standby phase. We'll press the button here. And then flip it all the way around. And this, you actually want to do something of a flicking motion to get all in one go. Something like this. And there you have the transformation into Kamen Rider Geo via Rider Time. Now, we can press the button on the top. To activate Finish Time. And we'll spin it again. Which activates the time break. Now, one thing to note is that the electronics of these two devices aren't entirely linked. So we have it like this, and then press it like so, then spin it around again. You'll see there's a little discrepancy where the ride watch goes into rider time, but the Ziku driver activates the time break. So if you want to do this over again, we'd have to remove the ride watch and put it back in. But next we move on to the other side of the belt, which is for armor time. So for that, we'll bring in the build ride watch and activate that. And then slide into the right side of the belt. And give it a spin. So, there we have the armor time transformation for Kamen Go build armor. And so in this case, the lights flashed red and blue instead of the rainbow colors, spelled out build, and then had the number 2017. So, from there we can activate an extra sound for the time break. So in this case, we'll start by pressing both of the buttons one after another. Hit the button, give it a spin. And this turns the time break into the VOLTECH time break. Now furthermore, one thing you'll notice about the design is that each ride watch has an arrow on the side that faces in a certain direction. Now this is the direction that you're meant to put into the belt. However, the ride watches can also be reversed, so that you can use them in the opposite order. So, we'll do that again, starting with using the build watch for rider time. Then we'll use the GO ride watch for armor time. And in this case, it played the transformation sounds in the opposite order. Then we can activate the time break again. Where it plays these sounds in the opposite order. We can also activate rider time again for build. And we can test out what happens when we use the special attack with just the build ride watch. As you can see, instead of saying time break, because it's just this watch attached, instead it says attack. Though we only get the one sound from the build ride watch because that's the only thing it's programmed to do with the finish time. And there we go. Overall, the Ziku driver seems like a very fitting belt for the final Heisei Kamen Rider. Not just because it's a belt that makes use of gimmick items that contain the powers of the previous Kamen Riders, but also because the belt itself feels like a merging of the two different styles that we've gone for Rider Gimmick toys, or rather for Rider belts, within Phase 2 of the Heisei Kamen Rider series. That being, it mixes the pin recognition system of things like the shift cars or the astro switches with the individual electronic features of things like lock seeds or gosh shots. And one of the really cool things about it is that it's the kind of belt where it really feels like both parts of it are equally important. Because you really don't get the full experience unless you have both the Ziku driver and the ride watches, as while you have most of the sounds in the ride watches, you don't get the standby sound, you don't get the impressive graphics from the screen without the Ziku driver. And that's the reason why I waited until I got this to review the build ride watch, because you really wouldn't be getting the full effect if I just reviewed that ride watch on its own without this belt. It's very impressive, and it has a very cool Kinect gimmick, which is done in a very clever way. Which is that if we unlock it here, we can actually see that it has these rollers, or rather these little switches that are designed to smoothly slide across the surface of the belt to allow it to get that spinning motion. I actually have these pins here, which hit the buttons on the back by having it raise up twice while it spins, and that's what activates these transformations for the ride watches. That's actually really well done. And as you can see, you can still activate these sounds for the ride watches, even with the Ziku driver off, because of how it activates the watches itself. Or themselves, rather. So overall, this is a very fun rider belt that I definitely look forward to collecting more ride watches for. And if you're a fan of this series, or just a fan of rider belts in general with these types of collectible gimmicks, this is definitely one I can highly recommend picking up. Next time, I'll be doing another double review of the Deluxe Gates ride watch and the ride watch holder, Thursday at 6 PM PST. So, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you're new and would like to see more, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. And for now, this is KRX50, riding off.